Have you ever felt like someone was silently watching you, remembering you, but never saying a word? She doesn't text, she doesn't call, but deep down, you sense it. She hasn't truly let go. Every story you post, she sees it. Every photo, she lingers longer than she should. And yet, your phone stays silent. What if I told you she still thinks about you every day, but she'll never reach out first? Not because she doesn't care, but because her pride won't let her. Her ego would rather suffer in silence than show you even a flicker of vulnerability. And that is where your power begins. You're not here to chase. You're not here to explain yourself. You're here to become the man she thought you never would. Unshaken, silent, grounded. Because the longer you stay quiet, the louder your absence becomes in her mind. In this video, we're going to break down the silent war happening behind her silence. You'll finally understand why she disappears, why she watches, and how your stillness becomes the one thing she never expected, but can't stop thinking about. If you've ever wondered why she vanished but never really left, you're about to find out, and by the end you'll never look at her silence or your own the same way again. She may never say a word, but the silence she gives you isn't peace. It's a battlefield. And deep inside her, the war has already begun. Let me know if you'd like a variation with more poetic flair or a stronger psychological punch. You may think she's forgotten you, that she's moved on, smiling in photos, posting stories like you never existed. But behind those carefully curated posts lies a battlefield you can't see. A silent war she fights every time she's alone. Part of her heart still remembers you. Not just vaguely, vividly. She remembers the way you made her laugh with a single glance, the way your late-night talks made her feel understood, truly seen, in a way most men never offered. She remembers the calm you brought into her chaos, the feeling of safety when she saw your name light up her screen. Those moments aren't just memories to her, they're pieces of a connection that still lingers like perfume in an empty room. But then there's the other side, the side ruled by fear. Fear of reaching out and being met with silence, fear of sending a message and realizing you've already moved on, fear that she no longer holds a place in your world. That fear tightens around her pride like a rope, pulling her back every time. She comes close to breaking the silence, and her pride. It's louder than any emotion she feels. It tells her to wait, that if you missed her, you'd be the one to call, that if she messages first, she loses the upper hand. Pride convinces her that vulnerability is weakness, and weakness is unforgivable. Her ego sharpens that message into something cruel but convincing. He should want me. I shouldn't have to chase him. And so, even when she almost types a message, she erases it. Even when her heart aches, she swallows it. Every second she holds back is a strange mix of pain and pride. Pain, because silence reminds her of what's lost. Pride, because she hasn't broken first. But here's what she never expected. Your silence isn't out of confusion. It's not hesitation. It's control. It's peace. And the longer you remain still, unmoved, untethered, the heavier her burden becomes. The story she tells herself to stay strong, it starts to unravel. The doubt creeps in, and the absence she once used as a weapon turns against her. Because your silence isn't emptiness, it's strength, and it forces her to feel every memory she tried to bury, every question she never answered, every part of her that still wonders, did I lose something I'll never find again? And that thought haunts her more than she'll ever let you see. And while she wrestles with the war inside, there's something even more calculated beneath the surface, a silence she's using as a weapon. Her silence isn't a sign she's over you. It's not peace, it's not indifference, it's a strategy, deliberate, calculated, and quietly devastating. She knows you're wondering. She knows you're watching the silence grow heavier day by day, trying to decode what it all means. And that's exactly why she says nothing. Because in this emotional tug-of-war, the one who speaks first is seen as the one who cares more, and in her world, caring more feels like losing. You think she's moved on, but in truth she's gambling, betting that your mind will break before hers. She doesn't have to say anything. Her silence is the message. She knows how uncertainty gnaws at the heart. She knows that silence breeds questions, and questions turn into restlessness. That restlessness becomes desperation, and desperation makes men act, and that's what she's waiting for. A text, a comment, a reaction, anything that tells her, I still matter to him. You think you're being polite. You tell yourself you're just checking in. But what you're really doing is handing her the one thing she needs most, confirmation. Proof that you're still emotionally tied to her, still affected, still waiting. And that's when the power shifts. Because even if she doesn't reply, even if she leaves you on read or responds with cold indifference, it doesn't matter. She already won. You broke the silence. You stepped onto the battlefield first. And in this silent war, that's all it takes to lose your position. Meanwhile, she remains untouched, unmoved, unseen. She doesn't need to chase or clarify or explain. All she has to do is wait. She trusts that most men can't handle silence, that most will fold, that they'll crack under the weight of uncertainty, that they'll chase even if just to stop feeling the ache. But here's the truth. Beneath her calm exterior, her silence isn't strength. It's fear, pride, wearing a mask. She's terrified of vulnerability, of being the first to say, I still think about you. But it's easier to hide, easier to pretend, easier to wait and watch and hope you make the move. So she doesn't have to. What she doesn't expect, what she can't prepare for is your stillness, your discipline, your refusal to play the game. Because the longer you stay silent, the more her confidence starts to crack. And when her silence no longer gives her power, but becomes her prison, that's when everything begins to shift. Not because you chased her, but because you didn't. But before we move forward, if this message is striking something in your chest, don't let it stop there. Hit subscribe, like, and share this with a brother who needs it. This isn't just content. This is your turning point. Let's keep rising, together. But silence isn't the only mask she wears. What you see online, her smile, her stories, it all hides something much deeper. You scroll through your feed and there she is, smiling, laughing, dancing in sunlit photos like nothing ever happened. A quote about strength in her caption. A story of her out with friends, clinking glasses, living free. And for a moment your chest tightens because it looks like she's healed. Like she's moved on while you're still putting the pieces together. But here's the truth you need to remember. People don't post their truth. They post their defense. Behind every curated selfie, behind every hashtag about growth and healing, could be a woman trying desperately to convince herself that she's okay. But no filter can hide the ache that comes late at night when the noise fades. No caption can drown out the silence that follows the absence of real love. She posts not to declare victory, but to silence the war in her own chest. You see, when someone truly moves on, they don't need to showcase it. They just live. They don't need to prove it to you or to themselves or to anyone. But when a woman floods her page with glittering distractions, with parties, quotes, new people, and loud smiles, it's not always freedom. Sometimes it's a cover, because the truth is, healing doesn't need an audience, but hiding does. And what she's hiding from is the quiet, the stillness, the echo of the moments you shared. Because when she's alone, when the drinks wear, often the room falls silent. It's not her followers she's thinking of. It's you, the way your voice dropped when you were serious, the way you listened without interrupting, the way she felt when she wasn't performing, when she was just herself. That's what she replays in the dark. Not the parties, not the pictures, you. But here's where most men go wrong. They see those posts, they feel the sting, and they react. They reach out, trying to match the illusion. They try to reclaim their place in her world with a message, a comment, a sign of life. But all that does is release her from the weight of regret. It tells her she still has you. It tells her she didn't lose as much as she feared. Don't give her that relief. Your silence is not punishment. It's proof of power, because every day you stay grounded, every moment you resist chasing, every second you don't react to the illusion, you become more real in her memory. Not as the man who folded, but as the man who vanished without a sound and left a void no distraction can fill. And yet, none of that matters until you make the one mistake that flips the entire balance of power. It doesn't take a paragraph to lose ground, just one text, one, "Hey, how have you been?" One late-night reaction to her story, one moment of weakness disguised as kindness, and suddenly the entire foundation you've built begins to crack. Because here's the hard truth. In her world, the man who reaches out first is the man who hasn't moved on. She may not say it, she may not even respond, but the moment your name appears in her notifications, she knows you're still there. You're still orbiting her. You're still waiting, still hoping, still affected. And just like that, the power shifts. You think you're being mature, polite, showing that you're over the past, but she sees through it. She sees neediness dressed in a mask of decency. She sees a man who, despite everything, still needs a piece of her presence to feel stable. And whether she admits it or not, that makes you predictable. Predictability is the death of desire. When you reach out, you kill the mystery. You kill the doubt. You answer the question she's been silently battling. Does he still care? And now she no longer needs to wonder, no longer needs to reflect, no longer needs to regret, because your message just gave her closure. And more importantly, control. You've reset the clock. All the progress you made, all the tension your absence created, undone. Now she knows you still care more than you care about your own pride. That's the moment you lose. Not because she rejected you, but because you surrendered the one thing you had left, emotional leverage. And understand this, no woman misses the man she knows she can still have. She misses the man who disappeared into greatness. The man who didn't break, didn't flinch, didn't send that one last text. The man who vanished so deeply into his purpose that she begins to question if he was ever real at all, or just a dream she didn't value until it was too late. So, hold the line, do not reach out, do not react. Let the silence speak for you. Let her mind do what your words never could. Wonder, regret, replay. Because the most unforgettable man is not the one who pleads for attention. He is the one who leaves behind nothing but quiet, and in that quiet becomes a legend. But if you hold firm, if you resist, what begins to rise inside you is something few men ever master. True power isn't loud. It doesn't scream, doesn't chase, doesn't need to be seen. It sits in stillness, unbothered, unmoved, and in that stillness it commands everything, because power, real power, is emotional control. Most men are ruled by impulse. They feel something and they act. They're hurt, so they text. They miss her, so they watch her stories. They feel lonely, so they chase. But in doing so, they surrender. The one thing that separates the strong from the weak, mastery over self. The man who controls his emotions. He is different. He's the one who can feel the ache of missing someone, but still keeps his phone down. He's the one who hears the storm inside his chest, but doesn't let it move his hands. He feels deeply, yes, but acts deliberately. His silence isn't emptiness, it's discipline, and that is magnetic. Because the truth is, women don't remember the men who were always available. They don't lose sleep over the ones who kept reminding them, "Hey, I'm still here." No, they remember. The man who disappeared into his mission, the man who turned pain into power, the man whose absence left a louder echo than most men's presence ever could. You become unforgettable, not by forcing yourself into her thoughts, but by disappearing into your greatness, by being so rooted in your purpose that your silence becomes haunting. She expected you to fold, to flinch, to break, but you didn't. You vanished, not into bitterness, but into evolution, not into games, but into growth. And that silence, that emotional calm, it becomes a mirror she can't look into without seeing what she lost and who you've become. So every time you want to reach out, don't. Instead, sit with the discomfort. Breathe through it. Remind yourself this is not weakness, it's training. You are not suppressing your emotions, you're sculpting them. You're teaching your soul that you don't need her attention to feel whole. This isn't about revenge. It's not about winning her back. It's about becoming a man who never again hands over his peace in exchange for someone else's validation. That's the kind of man who becomes untouchable. That's the kind of man who shapes his own destiny, one moment of silence at a time. And this, right here, is where the shift happens. Because the moment you choose yourself over her is the moment everything changes. It all begins with a decision. Not to text her, not to win her back, not to dwell on what was, but to finally reclaim the one thing you lost when she walked away, yourself. From this moment on, you are no longer the man who waits by the phone. You are no longer the man who looks backward, replaying old memories like a broken record. That version of you, the one who needed her to feel valuable, the one who questioned his worth every time she stayed silent, that man is done. He's been buried. In his place stands someone different, someone focused, someone dangerous, not to others, but to the version of himself that once begged for crumbs of affection. You don't chase what left, you build what stays. And what stays is your character, your mission, your peace. Her silence isn't rejection anymore, it's redirection. Every second you don't hear from her is a second you get to invest in your mind, your health, your craft, your legacy. You stop asking, why hasn't she reached out? And start asking, what kind of life can I create without needing anyone's approval? Because the truth is, you don't lose anything by letting her go. You lose everything if you lose yourself trying to get her back. You are done fighting for a place in someone's world who couldn't recognize your value the first time. You are done lowering your standards, dimming your light, shrinking yourself to fit into a space that no longer honors your worth. From today forward, you become the gravity. You become the standard. You become the man who doesn't need to be noticed because he notices himself first. And if she ever looks back, she'll see a life she no longer has access to, not out of spite, not out of arrogance, but because you've grown into someone her old version could never understand, let alone keep up with. This is your new mindset. You're not here to chase closure. You're here to build a future so aligned, so solid, so full of quiet purpose, that the past can no longer reach you. And when she thinks of you, it won't bring comfort. It will bring silence, the kind that echoes with regret. And when she finally remembers you, it won't be with comfort. It'll be with the aching truth that you became unforgettable the moment you stopped chasing. If you stayed with me to this point, drop a comment below. Unstoppable. I want to know who's walking forward, who's finished waiting, and who's building something so powerful. Silence won't just be a strategy, it'll be your strength. This was never just about her, it was about you. Seeing what you've refused to see for too long, that no one is coming to save you. No message is coming to fix you. No apology will rewrite the past. And that's the most liberating truth you'll ever face. Because the second you stop waiting to be chosen, you start choosing yourself. You stop performing. You stop chasing approval. You stop hoping someone else will finally see what's been in you all along. And in that stillness, in that silence you once feared, you rise, not for revenge, not for recognition, but for something far more sacred, redemption. Redemption of the man you used to be. You start showing up every day, not to prove her wrong, but to prove yourself right. Every drop of sweat, Every early morning, every silent win, every brick you lay in solitude, it becomes your foundation. You rebuild, you reshape, you refocus. You walk into rooms differently, not louder, but heavier, grounded. Your presence speaks without sound because it's no longer driven by insecurity. It's powered by clarity. And here's the truth you didn't know you needed to hear. She may look back one day. She may scroll through old photos. She may wonder how she let you go, but by the time she realizes what she lost, you'll be too far gone. Not because you disappeared, but because you evolved. You became the man she never thought you'd become. The man even you once doubted was inside you. A man with vision, a man with discipline, a man who doesn't beg for attention because he commands it without asking, and she'll never admit it, but it'll burn. Because the access she once took for granted is gone. The man she once doubted no longer exists. In his place stands someone unforgettable, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't, because he walked in silence and never looked back. So if you're still holding on to the fantasy, to the hope, to the maybe, someday let it die, because on the other side of letting go is the man you were always meant to be. This isn't heartbreak anymore. This is rebirth. If this spoke to your soul, subscribe, like, and share it. There's a brother out there still, stuck in silence who needs this. Let's rise together.